Time for all ages means that I welcome anyone who would like to come to the carpet. You don't have to give me a hug, but you can if you want. And you're welcome to come and sit on a chair in the front row or whatever's comfortable for you. Today I want to read a story that's about something that we talk about a lot, but I think that we talk about it a lot because it's very important. So I want to read to you a story about who we are, who you are, who I am, who we all are, but also who we are on this planet. We're not just alone. It's not just us and our families and the people we know. We share this home with a whole lot of people. And it's important to remember how we share this planet with a whole lot of people. I want to read to you a book called Whoever You Are by Mem Fox, and it's illustrated by Leslie Staub. Now, I know you're not all little, but this book starts out by saying, little one, whoever you are, there are little ones just like you. Oh, and wherever you are, I almost forgot that page. Wherever you are, there are little ones just like you all over the world. Yeah, there's kids everywhere. Their skin may be different from yours, and their homes may be different from yours. Their schools may be different than yours. That's pretty cool the way they write on those little tablets there. Different meaning of tablet. And their lands may be different from yours. Their lives may be different from yours. And their words may be different than yours. You know all this, right? Of course you do. But I like how it builds. Just wait for it. But inside, their hearts are just like yours. Whoever they are, wherever they are, all over the world, their smiles are like yours, and they laugh just like you. Their hurts are like yours, and they cry like you too. Whoever they are, wherever they are, all over the world, little one, when you are older and when you are grown, you may be different. And they may be different. Wherever you are, wherever they are in this big wide world. But remember this. Joys are the same. And love is the same. Pain is the same, and blood is the same. Smiles are the same, and hearts are just the same. Wherever they are, wherever you are, wherever we are, all over the world. Stop. Oh, yes, thank you. The library card in there. Yes, excellent. That's so if you ever want to borrow it. Thank you. Thanks, Tyler. We'll just keep that right in there. Excellent. I read that story because it helps us to remember that whenever we hear things, sometimes our parents are talking about things that are going on in the world. Sometimes we hear people at church talking about things that are going on in the world, and they're not very nice things. Sometimes it's people hurting each other. Violence, war, attacks, things that are not very nice to think about. And this is a story that we all, not just little ones, but big ones, elder ones, all of us have to remember that wherever we are, whoever we are the same. We love the same, we hurt the same. And you know, if we think about that and connect our hearts with people all around the world, and we think about that really hard, we won't want to hurt them. We won't want to hurt each other because we know what pain feels like. We will want everyone to be happy because we know what being happy feels like. So thank you for sharing this with me. I hope we will remember that whoever we are, wherever we are, we're all the same on the inside. I want to invite you, if you would like today, to go with Ariane to Kids Spirit. She is waiting for a lesson in your new unit. And I hope you have a great time together. A few moments to share some invitations for and with the life of the community this morning. Want to share a few of those and then ask if there's anything that anyone else has to come and make a brief invitation to that at the front. I'll start by inviting us again to an exciting event tomorrow evening. The St. Stephen's College Convocation is happening tomorrow evening. And at that convocation will be the conferring of an honorary doctorate on the Reverend Dr. Nancy Steeves, whom I think we all know. And if you don't, she is a recently retired part of our ministry team here at SSUC. Many of us will be going. There will be a little musical contribution from us, but the main event will, of course, be supporting St. Stephen's College and supporting Nancy as she gives the convocation address. There is some carpooling being organized, and that's happening. Some of you may have put your name on a list. That's being organized directly after this gathering. If you could meet in the lounge, if you're in the room, meet in the lounge. If you can either drive a few extra folks from the south side, or if you need a ride to the University of Alberta campus. There are also a few maps of campus, where to park, how to get to Convocation Hall, and particular note if you need mobility or large equipment assistance. There's directions of how to do that there. We celebrated John Evans' life a year ago tomorrow in this space together with Lois, and we will gather today after our gathering. After a bit of coffee time, we're going to meet here at the Circle of Life tree, and we're going to support Lois and join together as community, as many of you as want to stay, to place John's leaf on the Circle of Life tree this morning. So we'll do that together after the gathering.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Berg. On behalf of the Ye Old Christmas Artisan and Bake Shop on December 2nd, I'm here to extend an invitation, and I do apologize talking about Christmas at this moment. I'm a believer in never looking at Christmas till after Remembrance Day. However, there are exceptions. First, the way that this invitation is being extended to you is if you have a crafting skill which you would like to share with the SSUC Artisan Table, sign up in the foyer, and the sales from that table will go towards the Refugee Fund. Secondly, the other way that you could contribute is by making something that's Christmassy, but something that is a treat or a baking item that you would like very much to share, such as squares, cookies, fudge, frozen cookie dough, and the shop gang will beautifully gift wrap your delicacies for the sale. So all you have to do is bring it, we do the rest of the work. We hope you'll have time to sign up for the fundraiser and contribute. I know you're not thinking Christmas at this point, but it's hard to keep these things in front of everybody. The deadline for baking contributions is November 28th, so you have lots of time to think about it. And the sign up is out there. I will be there to welcome you with my open arms. And as they say on the TV cooking shows, on your mark, get set, bake. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Meredith, and if you've been here any of the past few weeks, you've probably heard this announcement before, but just a reminder, we are having it's called Jukebox, an event, a fundraiser on Friday, November the 3rd, and we'd love to see you there. So it is at 7 o'clock, kind of doors at 7, music at 7:30. Erin will be performing. There will be food, there will be drinks, it's all ages. Bring your families, bring other members of the community as you wish. You're encouraged to submit requests, to get up and dance, to serve yourself food throughout. So it's going to be a very casual kind of coffee house atmosphere. And we have tickets for sale after the gathering at the back. I'll be just there in the foyer. And we are also looking for a few more people to volunteer to help with kind of setup and keeping food available on the day of. So hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thank you both. Lots of exciting things coming up in the life of the community, and lots to look forward to and lots to plan for. So we're all getting busy. We're all getting to work. I want to take this moment to celebrate and honor the life of Amy Fontaine. Amy, a member of our community, died this week. And we will just spend a few moments to celebrate and honor Amy. Just a little sketch of Amy's life. Many of you might remember Amy as connected with Harvey and here so faithfully, lived just, 10 blocks from the church, and we're always happy to connect with us. And Amy spent a good many years helping us, serving with us on our congregational care committee. Amy was born on November 6, 1938 in High River, Alberta. And she married Harvey in 1959 and settled in Peace River country where she taught school and later farmed, owned a successful ceramic business. Together they raised their 3 children, Roger, Terry, and Patty. And they sold their farm in 1999, and you hear about this, they full-time RV'd it for 10 years before moving to Edmonton. Amy was a very artistic person. She was known for her abilities, including her many crafts, her quilting, her sewing, her pottery, as I mentioned. You name it, and she tried it. Any of you who talked to Amy knew that she was a person who knew everything going on in the news. She could talk about world events, prepared to debate on subjects with family and friends. I'm not sure if that was always a positive thing or not, but she was right there loving it. Amy had many friends, loved her family, had a special connection in the animal world to horses. She loved her Blue Jays and her Toronto Raptors, and she loved to travel. We remember her in this community as kind and helpful and always quick to laugh, share herself with others, and we celebrate her, and we know that we will miss Amy dearly. The Fontaine family would like to invite all of us to an open house at hers and Harvey's place on November the 4th between 1 and 3 p.m. It'll be a time to celebrate, to greet Harvey, to honor her life together with her family. And then on the Sunday of the long weekend, we'll join the family together in the Memorial Garden outside here for a committal gathering and a reception. So a couple of different ways to honor Amy, both soon and in the spring. I know you join with me and all of us together as we share in a custom of ours to sing our grief and our sorrow, but also our joy and our celebration for Amy and the life that she has lived among us. Let's sing together. We're going to sing it again in one moment, but I want to introduce you to the series that we've been exploring over the past number of weeks, entitled Something to Sing About. We've been exploring the music that we sing at SSUC and how it reflects what is important to us and what is meaningful for us, both as community and as individuals. And just before we sing this song, I want to introduce to you this song by John Oldham. It's something we've sung many times. It's entitled Deep in Our Hearts. What John does in this song, and as we sing it, we'll notice all the ways that he does it. He speaks to us of all of the ways that we share commonality with our fellow humanity. Whether it's a common vision or song or purpose or goal, these things all connect us to each other. And he bookmarks all of these reminders in the first verse and then again in the fourth, the last one, with the truth that these commonalities unite us. He says in these words at the beginning and end, that deep in our hearts there's a common story telling creation that we are one. And this seems to be the thread that holds it all together, that we can speak our commonalities with each other, but let it ring true that all that we hold in common must tell creation that we are one. Let's sing together. Perhaps it's a foolish time to be focusing on how we're all united as humanity. Just open your eyes and look what's going on. Lethal violence being enacted around the world. But my answer to my own question is no. It's never a bad time. It's never the wrong time to enact our values of peace and justice and unity. And the call of songs like Deep in Our Hearts is needed particularly now. In the wake of horrific violence of the past weeks in Palestine, Israel, Gaza, and the threat of more in ground attacks, we recognize that we will not, any of us, sort this out anytime soon, which is something that could have been said 10 years ago, 25 years ago, 60 years ago, generations ago. For those within the Jewish community, the unexpected savagery unleashed by Hamas does not feel like merely another military challenge. It activates their trauma. Trauma of hatred that has opposed the right of the State of Israel to exist since 1948, and the trauma of surviving centuries of anti-Semitic exterminating evil. For the Palestinian community, this new war is perceived by many as a desperate eruption of violence rooted in 56 years of illegal and brutal occupation of the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Under this occupation, Palestinians have been subject to the daily humiliations of dozens of Israeli checkpoints, constant lethal raids, 16 years of blockade against the Gaza Strip, and killings that have escalated under the extreme expansionist ambitions of the most right-wing government in Israel's history. Now, to find commonality in all of that is a challenge. But it's not if it comes down to human suffering. It goes hand in hand with being able to recognize and voice the fact that violence will not solve these long festering wounds. They won't solve the wrongs, and they won't heal the trauma. So whenever we see more violence erupt, it's yet another generation learning of trauma, of violence. So it always sounds foolhardy. Always. It will always sound foolhardy to appeal to nonviolence in the face of the realities of the world. It did in first century Palestine and Israel, and Jerusalem, I should say. It was foolhardy then to appeal to nonviolence. It's foolhardy now. Yet this is exactly what it means to hold to an ethic of peace. It's exactly what it means to be an Earth Charter congregation with our names on that document. And it's exactly what it means to be a congregation rooted in the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. Until not just we, but world leaders, funders of military weapons to their own and other nations, and the global community as a whole realize and come to terms with the fact that no amount of military dominance will permanently crush the other side. No amount of violence and war will end the pain and end what has been going on for years. Why? Because there is hope on each side. Why? Because false nationalistic religious motivations are present among all. And because belief that one side is on the side of so-called righteousness is an unfortunate motivator that is transmitted generationally. So until there's an understanding that resolving conflict through war and violence will never work, the cycle of hatred and war will not end. Those of us who have learned the history of World War I and World War II, and then into the 21st century in which we're living, where we see renewed pain, trauma, festering, we recognize, as students of that history, how a cessation of violence does not end pain, trauma, or a renewed sense of righteousness. Well, Martin Luther King Jr. had a few good things to say on this subject, and I want to share one particular quote. Violence begets violence, hate begets hate, and toughness begets a greater toughness. It is all a descending spiral, and the end is destruction for everybody. Along the way of life, someone must have enough sense and morality to cut off the chain of hate. It is our job, as Martin Luther King Jr. preached and as many, many others have preached, it is our job to call it out, the chain of hate. It is our job to enact a different way of being. It is our job, even in the midst of thinking with half of our heart and our mind that it's foolish, it is our job to enact an ethic of nonviolence. One step that we take toward walking that different way of being is to see beyond the superficial. To see beyond nationality, religion, beyond the beefs, the battles, and the prejudices of our parents, beyond the inherited propaganda of hate. Look deeper is what we have to do. It's what we do with our children when we teach them again and again and again that we are all the same. Our hearts, our desires, our loves, and our hurts are all the same. Prophets of every time and place not only speak of the sacred act of peacemaking, part 1, prophets of every time and place have spoken about peacemaking. And it helps us to be reminded of what those are. You can't read that. This from the Christian tradition, from James chapter 3. Real wisdom is characterized by a life that is peaceful, gentle, and willing to yield. It is full of compassion and produces a harvest of good deeds. It is free from prejudice and hypocrisy, and goodness is the harvest that is produced from the seeds the peacemakers plant in peace. So, I know this is the long view, folks, and it's very frustrating, but someone's got to be the peacemakers that plant the seeds of peace. And it has to always happen in every generation, over and over again. We think, like the raging grannies, we think, are we still doing this crap? I think they use a different word. Are we still protesting this shit, is what they would say. But every single year, every single generation, we have to plant these seeds. Here's another reminder, again, from the Christian writings. How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. I mean, that's poetic. But think of this. When we talk about praying with our feet and knowing that it's a gospel of peace that we are walking. The Buddha had some things to say about it too. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. We do that in each of our lives every single day. When it could be a word of frustration and a word of anger, maybe it's a word of peace. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolence is absolute commitment to the way of love. Love is not an emotional bash. It is not empty sentimentalism. It is the active outpouring of one's whole being into the being of another. All these are just reminders for us, reminders for me. I need to hear these things, so I'm hoping you do too. So what is our response to the world? Our response, one of them we talked about already. It's seeing deeper. It's seeing to the heart of who we are as humans. But another step we take is to turn that into inclusion. We do heinous things when we feel excluded and unloved. So, the task and the ministry of inclusion is also a ministry of peace. So let's be reminded of a few things here too. You shall also love the stranger. This comes from the book of Deuteronomy, which is Old Hebrew writing. And the reason that this is important is because the community that this is being written to was a community who had been exiled from their land. There's many parallels. Is it 2023 or is it hundreds of years before the Common Era? Well, you shall also love the stranger, this text says to the exiles. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So if you know what it is to be a stranger, then you better love the stranger. How about this one? Mother Teresa says, if we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. Seeing deeper. Last one. Henry Nouwen, Christian Catholic writer from the 20th century. True hospitality is welcoming the stranger on her own terms. This kind of hospitality can only be offered by those who found the center of their lives in their own hearts. So we've talked about seeing deeper, seeing the connections of humanity. We've also talked about then letting that translate into inclusion, welcoming those who need it. These are ways to peace. It's when we're looking for what we can do, it's not to believe that we can get out of this unscathed because we're halfway across the world. Maya Angelou, the poet, she had a really amazing outlook on this. She said in an interview once when asked, how do you survive in the world where we're dealing with so much? And Maya Angelou answered, we may not survive whole. We may survive only in parts. Who can avoid the messiness and chaos of this world? We can't, because we know the lives of those who are dealing with a whole lot are just like ours. And we're dealing with a whole lot too. If we are connected as one, then we know the sorrows and pains of one are the sorrows and pains of all. This will break us and our hearts. If we're right about that, if we're true about that, if we really believe what we say, when the sorrows and pains of one are the sorrows and pains of us all, then we're going to be broken. We are. We're going to be broken. The hope, though, is that we build ourselves strong enough that our hearts aren't broken into shards that need repairing, but that we are broken open. That our hearts are broken open to greater compassion, to greater connection, to greater inclusion and greater love. It's not foolish for us to talk about unity and connection because we're talking about how. It's our number one job. Unspeakable violence reminds us that this most radical countercultural truth is perhaps the most important, that the presence of the very same light and life, love, and desires for our world dwell in everyone, just as they dwell in us. So yes, let's get to work on our pleas to our nation's leaders and others for pragmatic measures in the cessation of violence, because people are hurting and bleeding. Yes, let's make sure we keep speaking of the needs for the acknowledgement of not just our pain and trauma, but the pain and trauma of the world, as we imagine ways of incorporating justice into proposals for lasting peace. Lasting peace is just peace. But before we can do any of that, most of all, let's continue in the face of every violence, knowing that we're connected to each and every person. If that breaks us, may it break us open. And that will fuel our vision to include. It will fuel our vision to love. Because our priority needs to remain seeing each other as our siblings and knowing that we're one family, unwilling to hurt each other because we know what it feels like to hurt. And maybe John Oldham has it right when he says that it starts with knowing that deep in our hearts there's a common calling. Deep in our hearts there is a common voice. Deep in our hearts there's a common story telling creation that we are one.
Wow, how do we follow that? Please join me in sharing the words on the screen as we strengthen our intentions. May the lives of our lives be filled with melody and lyrics that affirm, encourage, cherish, and impact our world in positive ways. We sing a joyous chorus to those who celebrate, and mournful songs to those who struggle. Songs sing solidarity for those striving for freedom and safety, those working for peace and justice. In solid, we all at parts and are printed. May we know that together we can create that which will make the world more beautiful. As today's music comes back to our hearts and minds through the week, may we be reminded of the values on which we're centered, the love with which we live, and the rhythm of compassion and justice that direct the music. May it be so. This morning, we have heard the wisdom shared in word, story, and song, and we have spoken our intentions together out loud. Changing the light from candle flame to smoke symbolizes the energy and motivation and choice we can carry forward into this coming week. So we can move from mere thoughts and words to responsible actions. Actions we can take to in any way make our world a better place. May it be so.
Mystery is my pursuit, my noble task and trade.